Hello and welcome to my review of Chainsaw Man Chapter 71. So, much like with Kengan Omega, this is a series that I just recently caught up with, and of course, instead of doing video reviews for the previous 70 chapters, I decided, screw that, I'm just going to start doing videos from where we are now. So, starting off with Chapter 71 of Chainsaw Man, titled Bath. Now, I believe since the conclusion of the last arc meant the end of the last volume, so we got a color page with Denji and Makima sort of holding on to each other. It's pretty cool. Got like blue intestines everywhere. However, I have no idea since when Makima was this curvaceous. Holy fucking shit. That should be illegal. Christ. But getting into the chapter for real, we have Denji and Power waking up in the morning, and they're like laying on a mattress on the floor, and Power is asleep with her head on Denji's chest, and she's got her cat, whose name I can't remember for some reason, sleeping on her, and he's smiling. It's kind of funny, but Power has like tears in her eyes and stuff, and Denji looks concerned. Yeah, he looks pretty worried. But Aki says good morning, and this is where we see that Aki only got one arm back after the encounter with the Darkness Devil, but Denji talks about how he could barely sleep because Power keeps screaming during the night. But at least Aki still has one of his arms, because that means he can still cook. But Aki says that's where the good news ends. Angel doesn't have either of his arms, Violence and Shark are dead, and Kobeni turned into resignation. So that's basically all bad news bears. I assume Angel couldn't regrow his arms like I think the other fiends have been shown to be able to do. It was probably because of that thing where the Darkness Devil like stared at him or something, and then he started bleeding out of his eyes and nose. So I guess he did some kind of weird spiritual attack or something, and now he can't seem to regenerate or something. Violence and Shark being dead fucking sucks, because they were both great. Beam was undoubtedly best boy, and you've always gotta love the Plague Doctor characters, especially considering Violence was a pretty chill dude. And, well, Kobeni is just another one of those smart characters. I think this is like the second time a character has quit, and it's always like the most rational decisions in the series are the people that are like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this bullshit. And then, of course, Power is apparently traumatized by her fear of the Darkness Devil. So, it's interesting to see that Power, the one who is just sort of like a weird, immature child, seems to be getting a little more emotional development. That being now she's emotionally traumatized by encountering one of the primal devils, and now she's all freaked out about the Darkness Devil like hiding in her mouth and shit, and Denji has to stare down her throat to verify that it's not there, and she doesn't believe him. She keeps insisting that it's always watching her and stuff. No one else seemed to be traumatized like this. Of course, we didn't see Kobeni's reaction. She just quit. But I would assume it's because of how emotionally immature Power is that she has taken this so terribly. But Denji is having to, like, feed her breakfast and stuff. It's like taking care of a special needs child or an extremely elderly relative. Like, she can't even feed herself right now. It's a really terrible state. But, Aki mentions Makima going on her trip after the terrible events of the last arc. And, we get this flashback of Denji and Makima eating, I guess, lunch or something. And Makima makes a comment about how it's amazing that he can be eating food just after getting decapitated the day before. Which I guess is because, like Kisabe mentioned a while ago, that Denji's supposed to be immortal, which once again raises the questions, are Quan Chi and Reze dead? I hope not, because I quite like Quan Chi, and Reze's grown on me a lot since originally reading through this. I guess if Makima did use the, I think Angel is supposed to be able to produce magic weapons that kill normally unkillable stuff. So I assume that would be the only way she would have killed them. Otherwise, maybe that theory about her collecting the hybrids has credence, but Makima suggests that she and Denji go on the trip that she promised him a while back together, just the two of them. And Denji's like, oh shit, of course, simping super hard. But then he's like, oh, but Power is like super fucked up right now, and I can't leave her alone. And even though Makima says that she can just be put under like supervision from the Public Safety Committee, he still decides to stay, which shows a lot of really promising development from Denji. I'm glad that he's not like this fucking lapdog. I know that's the running joke with him, that he's a lapdog or whatever. But that he's actually like making decisions for himself and is valuing his friends and other people that he cares about over Makima, because Makima's very, very obviously manipulating him and trying to tie him around her finger. I should specify now that I don't believe a fucking word that comes out of her mouth about caring about Denji and stuff. I think it's all obviously very calculated manipulation to make Denji utterly obedient to her. But Aki asks why he didn't go with Makima, and he's like kind of smirking, and Denji's like, I don't fucking know. So even Aki knows that Denji is developing. But we get this montage of Power constantly, and I mean constantly, asking Denji to check for the Darkness Devil. He's trying to take a shit. She's asking him to go look for it. When she goes to take a bathroom, and then she says that they take a bath together because she's scared of the Darkness Devil being in there. And now we get into what people freak the fuck out over with the Raws, because we have Denji and Power fucking showering and bathing together naked. This is way less suggestive than it was without the translation. At this point, reading this is just kind of pathetic, the way that Denji is basically having to baby Power. But we do get some stuff with like how I get this vibe from the way Power is looking at Denji, that it's sort of like she's getting feelings for him. I think that's what's happening, just from the way she's like looking and stuff. But Denji himself says that it doesn't feel like sexy at all, which, as they'll mention later on, ties back to early on in the story when Makima was doing that thing where she was like, oh yeah, doing intimate stuff doesn't feel intimate unless you have like this in-depth understanding of the person you're with. But Denji says that he has an in-depth understanding of Power because they've been around each other so much, but he doesn't feel anything towards her. But I just feel like, looking at all this stuff, like they're sleeping in the same bed, Power is like caressing his face and shit. I think, unless I'm being duped super hard here by Fujimoto, who knows? It's totally possible. I think this is more hinting towards them getting together. The big thing for me was after Reze died, quote unquote, you had Denji sitting in the restaurant or whatever, and the restaurant owner was like, Denji, you gotta lift your spirits up. The right girl for you will show up eventually. And then in like the next panel, Power walks into the store. So I think it's something that's definitely being heavily foreshadowed. But anyway, continuing with the actual chapter, Power is apologizing to him and asking that he doesn't hate her because he had to stay with her instead of going on the trip with Makima. And Denji's like, why don't you just fucking apologize to me for running me over with Kobeti's car or whatever. But Power says she'll apologize and she'll even let him drink her blood. Denji's like, I don't need that. But apparently that somehow in Power's best girl mind means that he does actually hate her. And her screaming and crying eventually convinces him to do it. So then she exposes her shoulder in a very sensual manner with like the spaghetti top falling. And Denji is talking to Pochita in his mind about that thing I mentioned earlier about sensual things feeling better when you understand your partner. And we get this, is this a whole page? This is a whole page of what looks like missionary of Denji drinking the blood from Power's shoulder with her legs wrapped around his waist. But despite this, Denji says it doesn't feel sensual at all, which I guess would just suggest to me that Denji just does not feel any attraction to her, which is great development from where he was earlier on. And by earlier on, I mean, like, literally the start of the series. He was like, yeah, I'd like to feel some titties. I'd like some titty. I'd like to kiss some females. He is becoming more emotionally mature. Which seems to be Denji's overarching character development thing. His character arc. I don't know why I didn't want to use the word arc twice, but Denji's character arc is basically him becoming a normal human being due to the fucked up circumstances that he grew up in and the fact that his heart was replaced with an actual devil. But at the very end, Denji is thinking about how there's a part of me that has to know and a part of me that would be better off becoming an idiot. Whatever's on the other side of that door, I'm fine not knowing. So the weird spooky door with a bunch of stuff plastered on it that was shown a long while back that I think Pochita told him not to open. I don't remember exactly, but it would seem that Denji's like, yeah, cool, alright, I'm not gonna open it, which is Denji taking on Quan Chi's ideology of ignorance is bliss, same as Kisabe was doing. So with that, we have reached the end of the chapter. I don't really have that much to say about this one in terms of like what to expect coming up, because this is very clearly sort of the transition chapter between the last arc and the next arc. So I would guess that it's possible that the next arc will revolve more around this door. Now that we've gotten, like, Primal Devils showing up with the Darkness Devil in the last arc, I assume we're probably going to get more stuff with that. But yeah, that's really it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I will be doing more Chainsaw Man videos. If you're interested in other series like Bleach, Kengan Omega, Record of Ragnarok, I've been doing videos on those series as well. I do plan on doing a video very soon comparing the Fiends and Hybrids, talking about the similarities and differences, and just sort of a general discussion video on the topic. So look forward to that. Follow me on Twitter. I'll have a link in the description below. and I'll see you around.